Okay, picture this, a courtroom, just buzzing with tension. A truly historic verdict is literally moments away from being read. But right outside the courthouse doors, the entire city is on the brink of tearing itself apart. You've got two mobs, fueled by rage and by fear, and they are on a collision course. So on one side, you have these enraged supporters, Satanists who have come from all over, and they're burning cars, they're rioting, demanding freedom for their idol. And then on the other side, you have his victims, people who've heard their tormentor has finally been caught, and they are desperate to break in and get their own form of justice. The whole thing is a powder keg just waiting for a spark. In that spark, it's the verdict. So back inside the courtroom, the jury foreman is getting ready to deliver that verdict. But you gotta understand, this was no ordinary trial. The accused wasn't a person. It was an entity they couldn't see, couldn't hear, couldn't question. So how on earth did they reach a decision? And what could that decision even be? Right, so how do you find an invisible force guilty? Well, the jury solution was actually based on pure logic. See, the trial itself had legally defined the tempter as the cause of all these crimes. So since the crimes obviously happened, the cause they defined had to be guilty. It's this wild little legal paradox, but when you think about it, it's totally airtight. But getting the guilty verdict, that was the easy part. The real question was, how do you punish something you can't see or touch? You can't exactly throw an omnipresent force in jail. The jury's answer here would end up redefining the very idea of what a sentence is. I mean, this is the core challenge, isn't it? Any traditional sentence would be completely meaningless. It's a problem philosophers have debated for centuries. But this jury, they didn't look to the law books for an answer. No, they looked inward. And here's what they came up with. The sentence wasn't a punishment handed down by the court, but a responsibility for every single person. The jury realized that the only way to defeat the external tempter was for every individual to turn around, confront, and cast out their own internal one. This just completely flips the script on what we think of as justice. It's not about what a court does to some criminal anymore. It's about what a community does for itself, one person at a time. The power to create justice, it lies inside every single citizen. But just as this huge, profound idea is being explained, the chaos from outside finally smashes its way in. The abstract battle of ideas is about to become a very real, very physical fight for survival. A single brick shatters a courtroom window and it hits Evan, the young man who started this whole trial. That sound just whips the mob into a frenzy. And suddenly, both sides, the supporters and the victims, they're united in one single demand. They want Evan, and they want the box he's carrying. With the mob about to bust down the doors, Evan doesn't just pray. He shouts out a command, a dynamic, stunning prayer that calls for immediate, full-on, supernatural intervention. And the response is instantaneous. A police officer, kind of shimmering with this strange light, appears out of a hidden doorway. He just takes command, leads the judge and the jury to safety, and he even cooks up this clever cover story to get the mob to disperse. The whole escape is as bizarre as it is effective. So now, they're all huddled in a secret fallout shelter under the courthouse, and the totally shell-shocked jury turns to Evan. They know they didn't just witness a simple rescue. They saw something else entirely, and they are demanding an explanation. This is what everyone's trying to wrap their head around. It wasn't like a possession. The officer was still himself. But for just a moment, they all saw this magnificent presence sort of superimposed over him. This flaming blue aura that literally pushed them back with an invisible wave of power. And Evan's explanation for this is just fascinating. He calls it an electronic presence. This isn't a takeover. It's more like an angel infusing its power and inspiration into a willing person who is spiritually aligned with them, someone with a compatible vibration. The officer wasn't a puppet. He was empowered. And this is basically the how-to guide. Evan explains how anyone can become a potential partner for this kind of angelic help. It's all about building that compatible vibration through daily spiritual practice and consciously creating a peaceful inner state. You're basically creating a safe harbor for angels, one that naturally repels all that negativity, like anger, vengeance, and even the influence of violent media. And that brings us completely full circle. The trial offered an internal solution to a huge external problem. Then, the escape showed the power of that internal preparation in a very real way. It all leads to this one profound final question. If the ultimate battle for justice is really fought inside each of us, how does that change the way we fight the battles in the world around us?